All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the COVID-19 Financial Oversight Committee, August 11th. We are grateful to see familiar faces back. This is the committee that made the recommendations and helped us through our CARES Act funding. And now we are predominantly focused on the American Rescue Plan and additional funding that has come to Metro through that plan. And we will focus on just those dollars for the local government support. So our agenda today, we will do a bit of a overview, kind of a refresher of the CARES Act, and then we'll move forward. Just, I guess, as we're starting, and we're masked again, so faces aren't quite as familiar, we'll go ahead and do quick introductions. We are happy to have a new member. So Ed Henley took a position on the Planning Commission, which meant he couldn't serve on 2 boards or commissions. So we have Jose Gonzalez. So if you'll quick intro, and then the rest of us will just introduce.
Great. Well, good afternoon. It's good to see a couple familiar faces and looking forward to being on the committee. I'm Jose Gonzalez. I wear a couple hats around town. Primarily, I guess people recognize me as one of the co-founders and currently finance director of Conexión Américas, a local nonprofit, and then also I have a faculty appointment in the business school at Belmont University, and so I split my time between those 2 things primarily. Happy to see everybody.
We are glad to have you. Thank you for your time.
I'm Sarah Finley. I retired from CVS Caremark a few years ago, and now I do corporate board work and a lot of nonprofit board work here in town.
Excellent.
Sandra Sepulveda, council member for District 30.
Thank you. Mary Jo Wiggins, I'm with Metro Finance. I'm kind of the moderator, trying to keep everything on track.
Jennifer Gamble, Metro Council member, District 3.
Sean Henry with the Nashville Predators, and I'm as shocked as all of you that Mary Jo invited me.
Courtney Johnston, Metro Council, District 26.
Excellent. Okay. I'm going to jump right in. And again, thank you all for your time back. Oh, gosh, I think we started in July and we had our last meeting in January. And that seemed pretty rushed. And we met a lot. We will not be meeting quite as often with the American Rescue Plan, primarily because our runway for expenditures are so much longer. And I'll get into kind of the guidance and the time frame and all of that. But I do have a summary that I can share with you all. There's so many different ways to splice this, and I'm going to give you more kind of information. But this was just at the department level, a reminder of our CARES Act funding. So the local government support piece for the CARES Act was $121 million. And this is a summary of how those funds were spent by department. And you can see we really made the final recommendation of spending last December 15th. December 15th, 2020, we had the final recommendation, which was to spend the final amount on public safety salaries. So that $29.8 million that you see down below has not really been spread to the departments. We'll tell you exactly where it goes, but the idea was we didn't want to change their internal operating budgets on a go-forward basis. But we're going to spend that. We did spend the final amount on that. Those savings then created a reserve. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on that reserve also. So you can see what's still going on is that as we make claims to FEMA for reimbursements related to COVID, if that amount goes below the $121 million, we will spend additional public safety salaries. And there is a chance that will happen. You can tell on this estimated claims of 11.1. I actually have, our consultants have about 13.5 identified. So if we do submit all 13.5 and feel good about getting that reimbursement, we will actually then spend a little bit more on public safety salary. The December 15th resolution at council actually approved that additional spending, but the additional spending then would have to be reappropriated. So we have the authority to spend on public safety salaries so that we keep that 121.1 million. But anything that we spend over this 29.8 has not been appropriated for spend.
So I'm assuming that everything sort of is, obviously it's all lumped in. Is there a way to separate out, like, for example, the mayor's office or whatever, like what that actually was for? Was that all salaries for people that had to be in contact with other people or whatever they were doing, and then versus expenditures for PPE, you know what I mean? Because
Yes.
I've gotten a lot of calls about certain things like the fair board and expenditures, or not the fair board, but the fairgrounds, the expenditures there with the catering and whatever was going on, and why we're spending this amount of money for that. This doesn't seem right. And then now there's the story about the no bid contract, and there's just been several things that really none of this did we have a whole lot to do with. So I feel like if we're going to be an oversight committee and people think of that as oversight, we need to know what this is for, and not necessarily to say, no, you don't need that, but to make sure that it's being spent wisely.
So when I said there's several ways to splice this, I can also give it to you by more of like our accounting codes, like this was professional consulting, this was repairs and services, which in lots of the repairs and maintenance are plexiglass, so things like that. So I can give it to you by all of the different account, like breakout hazard pay. So remember that there's 21 million of hazard pay split into these department expenses. So I could split out hazard pay by department. I could split out the different accounting. And then the other thing that I can provide is that each quarter I submit on a portal to the U.S. Treasury, and it's really by contract. So it would have every vendor that we spent money on. So that's why I was saying there's so many different ways that we have to report this, but to the Treasury, we report by contract. Internally, we keep it by accounting codes, and then those accounting codes can be further spread out by department. So
Do we have the ability to question any of this, like as it's going? Because, like, for example, I think everybody sort of laughed when we walked into the chambers. Plexiglass is extremely expensive, and every single one of those desks was outfitted with 3 separate pieces of plexiglass that was actually insane, because we sit back here and the desk is here. So it wasn't serving a purpose in the first place, but that was it wasn't millions of dollars.
I don't think that came from this, did it? Did it come from our council budget?
It would have come from this, yeah. It would have been an expenditure, like she's saying, plexiglass and repairs and maintenance related to COVID, so it would have come out of CARES Act money.
When we
I don't think they ended up charging it to this though, because there's only 3,900 for council office. Oh, you know what? I take it back. It would have come through general services. That's the other thing that can be confusing, is that certain expenses, if it's taken care of by general services, it might be the plexiglass for the council office, but it would show up in general services.
Okay, but that wouldn't come out of our budget. We don't have the budget to even get Nashville Business Journal and stuff. Yeah. So we didn't have thousands upon thousands to put pointless plexiglass. But that's the kind of stuff that I'm questioning, because I think people just go, oh yeah, do this, and then all of a sudden those little things add up to big things where we could have had more money for rental assistance or more money for small business type stuff, because I know that there was waste in here. There's no question about it. I just know there was, and the more you dig into it, the more you're going to find it.
I think I remember before we even presented the resolutions to council for the committee, each group would come and say, this is what we need it for. It's not very different from what they presented to us, correct?
Well, we did not actually fulfill department requests with the CARES Act. You're going to hear a lot more about that this time because we have additional funding.
Okay.
But the departments did come and say, we're looking for fleet, or we need to install
air conditioning things and all that. Yeah,
different HVAC and all of that. And really none of that was approved because we did so much external funding to the community and with MNPS that we didn't. Most of what was really under emergency response was overtime, labor, PPE.
Testing centers.
Yeah, the testing centers. Now FEMA did cover the lab invoices. I mean, we have over $20 million in lab invoices.
Good Lord.
That were covered by FEMA. So didn't end up here. So we are still making some of the adjustments where as the consultants that we contract with, as they review all of our expenditures, if they identify it as FEMA, then they prepare these extremely detailed reports, submit them to FEMA, and then we reverse the charges out of this fund and put it into a FEMA receivable. So you're still going to see some shifts in these numbers, even though
Sure.
all the spending has been approved. Like, no additional spending is coming out of here.
Right.
It's just that the amounts by department may go down, and you may see that public safety salary spend go up.
So I just think from a transparency perspective, it should have been more like, not necessarily to the degree of FEMA where you have to like give your DNA strain or, strain,
Yeah.
which, I get all that. But at the same time, when departments come and say, okay, this is what we need, to have somebody externally oversight to set, and not just the department head or whoever is in charge of saying what they need and approving funds. I just think that needs to happen this go round. And I would like some more detail in this. I mean, I know it's
Yeah.
sort of already done.
I can break this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can still go back and break this out.
How many accounting codes are there if you do it that way?
Gosh.
Not that.
No, I can actually get it summarized into, like, I won't give you
Right,
every
it's the
pay
populated.
one, but if I say these are wages, these are benefits, consulting services,
Yep.
24 or, I mean, I could narrow it down to, something,
it's manageable.
something very manageable.
And if you see a code that could be better explained, like for example, when it says maintenance or repairs,
Right.
to know what that is, because, you know what I mean? Because I think that's what, if it's an obvious question, just go ahead and answer it. And I'm sorry I cut you off, Jennifer.
No, I was just wondering, where is the public support in this list?
Up in administrative.
Okay.
So that nearly 20 million, 13.8 was rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. 2.5 was with Second Harvest, and then we had all of our different small businesses, the majority. But also think farmers, because then when it became, if it was Farmers Market or the Arts Commission, it's in their numbers.
Yeah, I see farmers separate. Farmers
And then remember that there was some nonprofit work done by the library, social services, juvenile courts, health department. Did I miss one? Office of Family Safety.
But the bottom line is, even though this is a more detailed breakdown of which departments got what, it still was reviewed, identified, and approved by this committee.
Yes.
Recommended to the council, and the council voted. So I don't know that there is a lot of waste in here, because in our discussions and our review that we were very diligent in looking at how we were spending the money.
We were, but there was the vast majority of that 121 million was Metro's response. So that's what this is. So when we looked at, okay, rent support and small business support and all that, yeah, we were super diligent about who it needs to go to, how it needs to be administered, who's going to be administering it. Let's be super transparent about that. So we can go to Pathway Lending and get all those reports. We know, all that kind of stuff. There was checks and balances between the different community groups that were helping to administer and all of that. I think we did a great job with what we were actually allocating. And yes, we did allocate to Metro's response. But within Metro's response, that's a ton of line items that were not checked by us. What are they spending it on? Why do they need that? Who's the vendor? Who are these consultants? What are they consulting about? All those things I feel like should have been looked at. If we're going to be transparent for the public, and we're called the COVID-19 Financial Oversight Committee, every dollar should have been overseen.
Well, I mean, I understand your point, and I agree with that piece, but it's not like there was a lot of money. And I mean, we didn't have nearly enough that we needed to meet the needs. So I just don't want to give the perception that there was a lot of waste because we did our due diligence. Mayor Joe and the administration did their due diligence, and then there wasn't a lot of money to meet the needs that we have regarding emergency response and others. So, while we'll benefit from getting that detailed report as far as how the different departments spent the emergency response money. It's really, I mean, I don't know that it's gonna be any real revelations as to waste. But
I just would like to be able to answer the questions when constituents call and say, what
I'll
was
have-
this?
and I'll have-
when
I'll
news
have the
stories
different
come out
ways.
about the fair and this and that, you know,
And
all this kind of
that's
stuff.
fine.
I'll have
When
the
we say,
different ways
look,
to
we looked at
slice
this, you know, at that point, I was going, I don't know what we're doing at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that.
Well, there was a homeless shelter.
Well, right, no, I knew that, but I'm
There were a lot of
saying,
things going
getting
on.
into the nitty gritty of why the amount skyrocketed after a month with the same number of people, and I mean, there was just all kind of stuff that the investigative reporters got into, and so then the phone starts ringing, and I'm going, we didn't talk about specific needs there. Yes, we knew there was a homeless shelter there, but when you talk about, you know, what sort of resources were being made available, the food cost, this, who's doing it, who's getting paid, who even applied to be the vendor to pay, you know what I mean? Who's the catering company, who's all that kind of stuff.
Did they
Now,
reach
will
out
we
to
get
you?
that in that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Will we
We-
get that in that report? I mean, will
we did.
go
The
down to
D&D
vendors?
report is, I don't think this committee wants to be reviewing contracts. We have
No,
a
I don't- and I'm not saying get
department that
into
does
the
that. You will
weeds.
see who the vendors were because I report that in the portal. And so I can bring those quarterly reports to this committee. I didn't bring those quarterly reports last time, and I'll give you now the cumulative, and I'll bring those quarterly reports that will have vendors, and then like the different accounting codes.
Is it also possible, when you look at this, if you had a second column of the dollars that we actually allocated? Because out of the 121 million, our total allocation that we distributed was,
Like,
I
less
think
than 40, I think.
it was like 32,
Yeah.
31?
Well, other than when the committee made the recommendation for the city to have funding. So
Right.
that still was
That's true.
included.
Yeah.
So the only pieces that were not, was in the beginning, it was, I
There's
just
some
remember the numbers. It was
nonprofits.
16.7 million in city expense and 24 for MNPS were the two allocations that were made before the committee met. Everything else did come through the committee.
That's true.
But my point is, we looked at things way, you know, when we were talking about 10 million or whatever for, I forget the numbers, but let's just say it was 10 million for rent relief, which actually I think it was 10 million. And we said, okay, who's going to be allocating this? Who's, you know, eligible for it? Who's this? Who's that? All the different partner agencies. I mean, we were really, really elbowing down on how many dollars, who's this, who's that, everything. And then we have these lump sums that, so Metro's response, where that's an animal in and of itself, where all these line items, I mean, there's a ton of departments that it applied to and all that. And we weren't really saying, well, how much is going to XYZ for XYZ? We just said, okay, that's Metro's estimated response, and so we're going to give them $68 million.
So a good example then, and I'll give you that update, is council then did when we did the final 20 million. So the final 20 million reserve was part of the public safety salary. So when you look at the public safety salary of 29.8 million, if you remember, 5 million was to MNPS because we had reduced it to 19, but then brought it back up to 24. So of the 29.8, 5 million was MNPS, 3.8 million was additional rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. 1 million was additional small business, and the final 20 was the city's remaining response. It was to get us through what we thought was going to be the end in June. And so of that 20 million, there is currently just under 3 million left. So it really did get us through the time period that we expected it to. And so those funds were allocated by what I'll call use. So I could pull up the resolution, but in that final resolution of that 20 million, it said, you know, X amount for the homeless and sheltering, X amount for some telework, X amount for public health response, including PPE. So the council did then approve it in buckets, so, or, you know, expenditure categories. And so of that reserve, we just refer to that as the COVID reserve. It was created from the savings because of spending on public safety salary. Remember, the whole idea behind spending on public safety salaries was not to create a savings in the budget, but to find an eligible use of the CARES Act funds so that we could then extend the life of those funds beyond that original expiration date. So we did that. There is just shy of $3 million left in there. And that number could actually change. This gets a little complicated, but I want the committee to hear this. We'll also, like council, so you can either ask me this question on the floor, is the health department recently, for anybody that remembers at the last council meeting, the health department received a grant from the state health department of $26 million. And they are going back and identifying, and one of the things that they may do is some of the expenses that they charged to the CARES Act funding, they will charge to that grant, which will make that, I'm gonna call it 3 million, it's under 3 million, but it's roughly $3 million left. Of that 3 million, that number could then go up. Now, it's not allocated or appropriated, I should say, to be spent yet. But as the health department, if they reclass funds out of this COVID reserve, because they can now charge it against the CDC funds, that gives us more flexibility in those dollars. Because again, remember, we'll just keep spending it on public safety to create the savings, and then take the savings and create a reserve.
Did they already take the money from our account?
Not yet. That we're reviewing all of the different eligibility. So we keep trying to optimize the funds based on eligibility so that we leave the most flexible dollars as our emergency reserve. So that's kind of everything that, we're still working through with CARES Act funding. I mean, that's still kind of ongoing. It just gets kind of tedious. If we can get it into FEMA, we get it into FEMA. If we can now get it into that health department CDC grant, we'll put it into the CDC grant. That means there still will be some shifts in the CARES Act, and we'll continue to report on that every quarter with the U.S. Treasury, and I'll make sure that this committee knows that.
You said 26 million?
That was the health department grant, yes.
CDC grant.
CDC, it's actually called ELC, is the specific name of the grant, but they are CDC funds that went to the state, and then the state made that allocation to us.
You just partially answered a question I had, which is of these amounts, we're obviously sensitive to the fact that the numbers may change because of FEMA claims that we discover that we haven't identified yet. But are there any other sources, such as state sources, like for either MNPS, and health was an obvious one, but anything else like that that's a moving piece other than what you just described?
Not with the CARES Act. The two that we're still working through would now be the health grant and FEMA. We're continuing to work through. MNPS has received quite a bit of funding that is not accounted for in that CARES Act summary, nor are we really addressing it in the American Rescue Plan. But there have been 3 different stimulus packages. There's been the original CARES Act. Then there was one on December 27th, 2020, that didn't really have a name. It created funding for schools, and it did create our emergency rental assistance program. We're gonna call ERAP, and that's ERAP 1. But there was no local government support in that December 2020 package. Then the American Rescue Plan Stimulus Act came out. All 3 of those had funding for MNPS. That you will hear referred to as ESSER, ESSR. So that is like ESSER 1, 2, and 3. So MNPS is doing the same thing. ESSER 1, 2, and 3 have different eligibility uses, different required uses. They all together are just under $500 million.
I was meeting with MAC yesterday, and they said that they might have funding coming from the state for rental assistance and utility assistance. Is that
That MAC does?
MAC?
Or that schools?
MAC.
Oh, yes.
MAC. So
Oh, yeah. I'll
what funding is that from?
So MAC is currently administering, they call it the HOPE program. It is emergency rental assistance and utilities, not mortgage. And I'm going to give you some exact numbers. So the emergency rental assistance program, I mentioned that December 27th, 2020 stimulus package. That first round of funding, we received in the bank $20.8 million. That's being administered by MAC through their HOPE program. In addition to that $20.8 million, we have access to roughly 23 to 24. I don't have that exact number. We didn't receive those funds. They went to the state, but they are intended for Davidson County. THDA is administering all of the different ERAP funds for, I think, about 85 counties. There are some that chose to do it themselves. Maybe they might be doing 86 counties. But so Davidson County applied on its own, and that's how we got the 20.8. But some of our funds are still with THDA, who said we can either administer them for you or we can give them to you. So MAC intends to apply for those additional funds. That would be 23 to 24 million. So that's ERAP 1. As part of the American Rescue Plan, ERAP 2 was created. Different rules, not the exact same program. And we received the first installment of that plan, which was 9.2 million. We have not begun distributing out of ERAP 2. ERAP 2 had slightly more flexible rules. And so,
Wait, time out. Did the 9.2 also go to MAC?
yes.
Okay.
But we haven't really, and I'll tell you the total of ERAP 2 was 23 million.
So where's the other?
Still with
14.
Treasury. So we got 40%, and then we'll get the other 60% once we spend down the first tranche. That first tranche, MAC sent out an RFQ for nonprofits. So very much like
We did.
United Way was kind of the umbrella for, I think, about 30 different nonprofits that distributed. MAC is going to partner with nonprofits, many of the same ones that were under the United Way umbrella, to administer those funds all through the portal that MAC created for ERAP. So what that means is so in ERAP 1, we have roughly about 45 million, maybe, 44 to 45 million of funding. And
But that hadn't been
Plus the 9 million plus the
That-
23.
No, the 9 was ERAP 2.
So ERAP 1 is 20.8, and then the other amount is going to be about 23, 24 million. Then
We
it-
haven't spent down that 45 million of ERAP 1, right? Or has
No, we're at, the most recent report was 14.2 million
that is left or that we've
spent.
So out of 45 million, we've only gotten 14 million into the hands of the people that need it.
When I met with them yesterday, they said that Treasury had several restrictions that caused them to move through it slower, and now a lot of those restrictions have been taken back, and so it's becoming much easier to get money out the door, and they expect to spend it all pretty soon.
Yeah.
Did you get an example of some of those restrictions that have been lifted so that when someone
Yeah.
asks me, I can be like, because they're going to say, well, like, you know what I mean?
So they've been trying to figure a couple of things out. One thing that we talked about yesterday, my days are all over the place, was that what happened when landlords won't take the money and how to get around that if the person if the tenant themselves doesn't have a social security number or anything, how does Metro then kind of check for them when we're not allowed to do that? And so trying to figure out different solutions for when situations like this pop up
And
was one of the examples specifically.
And the other example was documentation. So if it was documentation of income or documentation of the lease, really heavy documentation requirements. And I believe it was just last Thursday, so not quite a week ago, that Treasury put out new guidance that allowed for more self-attestation instead of the required documents. So that is going to move things much quicker. I know it doesn't seem like that's a lot of progress. We've discovered MAC actually has done a really good job across the country.
Yeah, no, I
They've
wasn't
gotten
saying
more
that
and more
in a thing of like MAC has failed, or I just,
No, but
there's got to be a reason why when you keep hearing, these evictions and the moratoriums and everybody's freaking out, and it's like, well, but we've got literally millions of dollars waiting. What's the problem?
Yeah, nationwide, it has been a struggle because of the program restrictions. And so that's why the U.S. Treasury made a change as of just a week ago. And even from August 2nd to August 9th, they put out about 1.3 million, and I think that even without the new rules, you're going to start seeing millions going out each week. But yes, between ERAP 1 of roughly 43, 44, maybe 45 million, and then ERAP 2 of 23 million, we really do have nearly, $65 million available in rent and utility assistance. Those funds can also be used for deposits related to rent. So if it is getting somebody out of a lease that they can't afford into something more affordable, and it's really just the deposit that they need and not back rent, there are,
Is
that
there
is
any
part of the
talk
option.
about mortgage help for people? Because
So-
those people lost their jobs just like renters did.
Yes, so there were, I think they were CDBG, they were HUD funds. I think they were CDBG funds that were available for mortgage assistance. And so when somebody applied, if right away on their application it was a mortgage instead of rent, MAC knew to transfer them over to the different funding source. And so now I did hear from MAC that those funds are low, but they still have funds available for mortgage assistance.
How much was the total for mortgage?
I think Dr. Kroom told me what was left was I want to say 180,000.
Out of how much?
I don't know how much it
Oh.
was. Yeah, sorry. I can find out.
No, I just wondering.
Yeah, that would be interesting to find out how much has been allocated for mortgage assistance. Because, we got people in the same situation, whether they're renting or owning, it's a job is a job.
So I don't want to jump too far out of order, but since we're on this topic, if you're good, we'll stay here and we'll jump to number 5, because we're not going to be making any actual recommendations. But one of the things that Dr. Kroom, who runs our Metro Action Commission, MAC, asked us to consider, and I do know Councilmember Swahara wanted to be here. She had originally asked me about this also, is that one of the program requirements for ERAP, ERAP 1, is that you have to be less than 80% of the average median income.
Which is?
It is different by household number. So if it is one person versus 4 people versus 6, you're going to have different amounts. I will try to do I think I have it in an email. If you are even $1 over, you don't qualify. So here we have millions and millions and millions, and yet there are folks who are not, at a high income who aren't qualifying for it. And so there was a request that could we use the rescue plan funds and have some funding available that as soon as somebody kicks out because of their income level, so right now,
Safety net for that.
yeah, so right now you have to be under 80%. If we say, well, if you are over 80% but up to 120% or we don't set a cap. Maybe we don't set a cap and of what the income level could be. But what the request would be is that it would be exactly like the HOPE program. So you still have to, all the other requirements are the same, but if you are over that 80%, that you would be eligible for these funds.
We didn't have a requirement last time.
A cap.
A
No,
cap.
we didn't. Correct.
So did Dr. Kroom indicate, I know that Council Lady Suara was going to be asking for $3 million. Did that come from Dr. Kroom saying if you were to expand, and I do think we need to put a limit on it, to be honest with you, because there's going to be people that would make 200% of it and could apply if you don't have a limit, and those people don't need it necessarily as much as the people that are making lesser. So I'd want to start with a chunk of people that are in that lesser category first. So let's just say it's to 120% or whatever. Did she give an indication of this is the dollar amount that I think would take care of this particular group of people, and that is where the $3 million came from, or where did we just pull it out of the air?
We looked at, she said the average length of time that folks are getting support for is 5 to 6 months. And now she knows that the report says that there have been 288 people deemed ineligible for HOPE. That number does not mean that they were all over the income. In fact, she said this includes people who ended up finding other assistance and withdrawing their application. And this didn't have anything to do with income, but she said, you know, if a couple hundred of these folks are because they were over the income limit, she said what we don't know is there are folks who, as soon as they saw the income limits, didn't even apply.
Right. So
that could be, so if you looked at, we got the 3 million, I think, by taking the 6 months. I think they averaged 1,500 per month, which was a little bit high. And then, so like 300 families, 6 months, $1,500, and it came pretty close to 3 million, I think was where they went. And it was a start.
I think 3 million
That was
is a good
2.7.
start.
That was 2.7. And really, when we look at, the 1,500 was a little bit high of an average need, but so it could be more than 300 individuals or families that would be served by that 3 million.
I think it makes sense to go for the 3 million, and if we find that there is a need, or if we see more people coming in the door once that cap isn't listed, then reevaluating from there.
So that is what I wanted you all to kind of be thinking about. If we want to do that, to speed up the process, the one thing we're gonna always kind of be trying to is try to get the legislation in on, for council meetings. And so our next meeting is August 25th, which that Friday will be the due date for the September 7th. So we'd like to see this recommendation on the September 7th agenda. So we will ask for your recommendations on the 25th, but we can start drafting some kind of proposed based on MAC and based on that number. And now you kind of know the background on it. So we can start drafting that resolution and maybe look at it. You can make the official proposals, and then we'll have a draft on the spot.
Can we have Dr. Kroom come in anyway and speak to us? Because I think it's important. One of the things that we're seeing is a lot of people being helped by MAC